Hi there anyone who's watching this and welcome to my first ever speed build. I've no idea what I'm going to say while recording this. In fact, I've taken so long just to try and record this that I'm having to watch the video back to remember exactly how this build went. So for those who don't know, and I don't know anyone would know, my name is Ruby, but I go by DynamicTortoise on Instagram, on the gallery, and on various Sims places. It's actually DynamicTortoise on Instagram because someone took my name and I couldn't be asked to try and think of another one. It took me long enough to try and come up with this one, which I think actually came even from me trying to have a funny name on Fall Guys. In any case, I've been playing The Sims for many years. I've been building for quite a few years, and I decided that after sharing my builds on the gallery, on Instagram, that I'd try and make my own speed build, and I decided the build to start that with was going to be this one, which is Jolly Reds from Animal Crossing. And I decided to do this when the Businesses and Hobbies pack came out because I could finally build a functional business for our good pal Red. And I feel like Trashly Real person in the Businesses and Hobbies pack, I mean, that's got to be a reference somehow to Red. After all, Red does also sell definitely real art. What you can see me doing right now in the build is I've got the shape pretty much down, and I'm going to work on the roof, and you're going to see me go back several times and change that wallpaper. I know I'm going to change it again. It took me so long to decide what I wanted the wallpaper to be. I wanted to get the right colour. This one was close. That one's from Eco Lifestyle. And it just didn't quite feel right. I ended up going with this other one from Eco Lifestyle, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it came out. I was originally going to do metal on the upper floor as well, as you'll see, but I end up going back at some point and changing that to wood. And I think although it's probably supposed to be either metal or plastic, the wood kind of gave me the vibe that I wanted. And the metal roof that I ended up using, which I think is the one from Werewolves, also gave me just the right kind of feeling. That's what Jolly Red would have. It would be just slightly off. I ended up using some windows from Island Living, and choosing a door was a little tricky, but obviously I ended up going with the matching one from Eco Lifestyle. Because we don't have a cloth door in The Sims, I decided that I would use some of the werewolves curtains on some of the windows upstairs just to give a little nod to that cloth door that Red has. Thankfully, Get Famous came in clutch here, and I had some actual ship kind of masts. I really wanted to have some kind of like debug rope and things like that, but that just doesn't quite exist in The Sims. I did also really want a good flag on the back, and I really toyed with a few of these before ending up going with the one that I chose. It was the only one that felt kind of close to what we were going for. You're going to see me playing around a bit with lights now, because when you look at Red's boat, particularly in New Horizons, it does have these little lights, and I really wanted them to go around the edge, but the sizing just didn't quite work. But I was able to have them go around this front section of the cabin, which did give me the kind of feel that I wanted. I wanted this to feel like what it's like when you go in Animal Crossing, you go down into the bowels of Red's boat to try and work out whether what he's selling is real or fake. And I'll tell you nothing, I go to Google every single time that I'm trying to buy art from Red. There are some that I can work out now, like the bright blue Rosetta Stone, like I know that one's fake, but some of the more subtle ones I do have to go back and check. They're a little bit more obvious in The Sims in terms of the fake art that you get from Trashly. And you'll see me a little bit later in this video going to get that art from someone off the gallery who's very kindly uploaded it. I had been hoping that I'd be able to get the art out of the Build By catalogue, and you'll probably see me trying to find it. And oh look, there I am getting it from the gallery, because I'd looked through the catalogue and even using Better Build By, which is a godsend. I mean, I don't know how I ever built without it. I wasn't able to find these in the catalogue, so thankfully the community came through and I was able to get them off of the gallery so that I would have plenty of definitely legitimate art for Red to sell here in his boat. It took me quite a while to try and get these displays just to try and look the way that I wanted them to, because this being The Sims, the pictures didn't quite snap exactly where I wanted them to, and you can't alt place onto these displays as much as I would have liked to do that. And I really wanted to have every piece of fake art and not have anything just kind of hanging off the edge of the displays too much. So I think I had to make a few things smaller and move things around until I finally got all the bits on there that I wanted. I didn't build this in any particularly logical order. You can see I started decorating it and then went to flooring, and now I have moved on to wallpapers. And I'm going to try out a fair few, and I ended up going with this one, which I think is from Lovestruck, the downstairs section, and the one that is upstairs I think is from the artist kit. And I've now gone back to decorating, and I really like how these kind of spotlights came out over the top of the art. I think particularly with the fact that one of the fake busts has sunglasses on, it looks really funny under a spotlight. And I'm clearly rearranging again just to get the feel of the space, because as much as I kind of knew what I wanted, until you start putting things in the space, you're not going to know exactly what's going to fit. And I mean, this corner, that corner was really annoying. And then I would just find items that I knew I wanted to use, and then I would stick them in the section that I ended up using as kind of Red's private space, and being like, let me just put this here so that I remember I want to use it later. Like that barrel. I don't even think I ended up using it, but I was like, I'm about to stop recording for a moment, so let me just put that down so that I can remember I want to use it later. So the stolen ATM, the bag of cash, these are all things that I thought Red would have. And I decided to give him a boat, because that's how he gets his art to and from. I decided that I thought this would be more like his permanent mooring, that he would then go out and source some art and bring it back here to sell. So of course he had to have another boat. And I ended up making this section a private section, this little deck that would come down just into the private, employee only space, so that no one would technically see where the things were coming in from. At least that was the thought that I had when I was building it. This went through quite a few changes, and I'm sure you'll see that. Those crates are going to get moved a lot, and that ATM is also going to get moved a lot in the course of this. It does have a full bathroom in here, but employees only, so your Sims can't use that if they come and visit this space. And when I say it's an employees only space, let's be honest, that pretty much just means Red. And I did give him a little kitchen, so he can eat here. I didn't end up giving him a bed because I wanted this to be a small business lot as opposed to a small business residential lot. You're about to see me probably start moving yep, there goes the ATM, because I decided that some of the fake art, maybe Red did it. Maybe Red makes some of his own fake art. Now, I decided that this was where I was going to put the ATM. It was just coming in off the boat. And then being The Sims, I had to fix the foundation, because with all the new walls I added, the foundation was gone. And I added the big curtains here so that no one who was inside would be able to see out onto this deck. Yep, and so now some crates are back. This is where I started getting into one of my favourite things to do in The Sims, which is clutter, which is finding all the kind of small little things, like what could I put here? What might Red have? So barrels, classic. Here comes that barrel that I mentioned earlier. And I decided to put some flowers. Thought it might be nice for him to have some flowers out here. But it was just trying to decide what felt like it would come in off a boat, having some signs. This is something that I love doing, and you may well see if I do any more of these speed builds. I like clutter. And I did decide to take that sign from Werewolves, which is technically a Beware of a Greg sign, and I kind of hid it on the corner of the lot, because when you play Animal Crossing, people do warn you about Red, that he might sell you fake things. I've now gone back down into the main part of the build, and I'm putting things on these shelves. So I've got all of the woodworking items, I've got some clay, I've got some dolls. It kind of felt like these are the kind of things that someone might have acquired somehow in The Sims. I was a little bit undecided about what to do upstairs, but in the meantime I was just trying to fill all of the kind of slots on these shelves and try and work out what would slot where, because the slots, again, as we well know with this game, the slots don't entirely make sense, and the size of items doesn't always make sense. Like sometimes something looks like a small item and the game thinks it's a medium-sized item and it just won't slot. The next thing that I decided to do was add some seating, and I was looking at things that might look as though someone had just acquired them. Like, you know, someone who might have found it, like someone was getting rid of one of these couches and Red has just gone like, I'll take that, and he'll pretend that it's a genuine antique or something like that. And I did the similar kind of thing with these tables. I wanted them to look like they'd just been found somewhere and ended up here, because I didn't think Red would think that it was worth anything to buy anything kind of new for this kind of space. I wanted the space to look kind of shabby, kind of shady, but also not completely overtly shady. Like you could totally pretend that your sim had no idea what was going on here. And in my decision making about what I wanted upstairs, I decided to make it a learning space. I decided that Red was going to run mischief classes, probably, let's say, so that if people want to know how to run a business just like him, well, they know where to come. And again, like I did downstairs with the acquired couches, I wanted to do the same thing with all the chairs. Like none of them match. They look like they could have been thrown out of somewhere. It all just kind of felt like the right thing. And then the last section I did was just kind of having a games room, which I also felt, it just gave me the vibe of this is something that Red would like to have on his boat. I thought he's probably the kind of character who would just constantly be betting Sims to like, I bet I can beat you at this, I bet I could beat you at that, and all the games would be fixed. Like obviously, like none of it would be fair, but it would be quite a fun thing to have and would make this space more usable for any Sims on any random occasion you might want to bring them here. Now that I've done most of the inside, you can see I've gone back to try and look at making the outside what I wanted. I debated with lights, I debated with covers, but none of them were quite the right size. And I think I just deleted that barrel from earlier. The crates from earlier have definitely gone. I'm now creating a debug fence, and it took me a while to try and decide which one I wanted, but I ended up with going with this one from Island Living because it was just that slightly shabby, but it fit in with the environment and I could fit all the various pieces together. Again, I have to do massive shout outs here to Better Build By, because I would never do a debug fence or deal with all of this debug landscaping or all the clutter without using something like that, because I think I would lose my mind. Like, just having the ability to use the eyedropper tool on debug items is a game changer, and being able to search the word fence and find all the various fence pieces. So we're now coming towards the end of the build, which in my case is nearly always just finishing up those last bits of landscaping, because I wanted the build to feel like it kind of fit in with the environment. I came back in to give Red a table because I deleted the crates that were in here earlier to give some more space, and I'd forgotten that I did that just to give him some space for a dining table. So that's going in there now, and we're now pretty much there. Again, adding some things on the wall. That patent, I'm pretty sure Red would have stolen it, and wanting to put some art on this wall. I was determined to use that sticker because it was about the only kind of boat type thing that I found that I felt fitted there. I wanted a big piece of art on this wall, and I ended up finding a mural and it fit there really well. So now that's our finished build. It's on the gallery just titled as Jolly Reds, and it's a small business venue type. So if you want to find that on the gallery, that's just DynamicTortoise, and hopefully I'll make another one of these soon.